Hello there and welcome. In this episode, we continue working on our bear. We still have some things to do, and these things are mainly around the way the bear looks. So we're going to deal with animations, we're going to deal with some sounds, and we're going to deal with creating the health bar for the bear. Before we start, I just want to mention that most of you are not subscribed to the channel, and it will really help me and support me to continue with the content. If you could subscribe, you can also hit the like button if you like this video. So adding an animation to the bear is very simple. We already saw that we have the idle animation and the chase animation and the attack animation. So all of them are configured inside the state machine. We have the idle and we have the walk, the chase, and the attack. Now we also want to have the dying animation. The dying animation will be triggered not from the state machine itself, but from this any state node. It means that it can happen at any point and it doesn't need to be conditioned to any other state. So all we're going to do is right click, create a state. We're going to name it die, and we're going to make this transition. Then we're going to add a trigger parameter and we're going to name it die, all capital letters, and we're going to set this as a condition. So we're going to say die, and because it's a trigger, it means that we only need to trigger it. Now for the animation itself, we're going to click on this node and we need to search for the animation, and we do have animations for this bear because it comes with this pack. So if I just press on one of these and I click on this animation, it will bring me to the animation folder for the bear. And we can see that we have this death animation over here. So we're going to expand this, and we're not going to take this bear T-pose. We're going to take this bear death and we're going to simply drag it over here. Now we need to actually trigger this animation. So we're going to open our animal script. And inside the animal script, we're going to scroll down and we can see over here inside the take damage method that if the health goes below 0, it will take the animator component and it will trigger this die parameter. So it means that we don't actually need to do anything because we already have this set. We created all of this for our rabbit in episode 31. As I mentioned in the previous episode, we created it a while ago. So we don't really need to do anything. We just need to make sure that all of our animals have this parameter inside of their animator, and this will trigger this animation when the health reaches 0. Now you can add more animations. For example, if you want some kind of animation that the bear is getting hit. So you can simply add this over here and then say hit. And I'm using capital letters just because I want to remind myself that this is something that will be used by all the other animals. So each animal should have this parameter, and this will help me not to forget it. Okay? So now that we have this hit animation, we can save and we can simply create this other trigger. Or maybe let's name it hurt. Okay, it's better. So let's go back here and say hurt. And then we're going to create another node. And we're going to make a transition as well and use this as a trigger. Now for the hurt animation, we can simply go back to this folder and look for some kind of animation for the hit. I'm not sure if we have this kind of animation here. Let's say get hit. Okay, so we do have get hit, and you can see get hit from front. So this is a good one. There's probably get hit from behind. I don't see it, but we have this get hit from front, so this is good. So we're going to take this as well, and we're going to drag it over here. Now before we test this animation, which should already work, we also want to take care of the sounds. We already triggered the sound inside the animal script. Okay, we have this play hit sound and we have this play dying sound, but we still did not assign any sound over here. So we're going to simply click on our bear, animal script, And we need to drag both of these sounds over here. Obviously, you can add more sounds for different situations. We're going to have the hit and scream, so this is when the bear is getting hit and die when the bear is dead. So I'm going to give you links to the Pixabay itself, and you're going to download these sounds. Of course, it depends on the animal, and it depends if you even want to use these sounds. So I'm going to open my sounds folder, animals, and I'm going to create a folder for the bear. And I'm going to drag these files inside. So I have this bear dead and bear hit. And we're simply going to click on the bear. We're going to drag the bear dead over here and the bear hit over here. Now, obviously, as you build your bear and you add more things to it, you want to make sure that you're saving the actual prefab. So you always go over here and you apply the changes. So the changes are actually saved in the bear prefab, and we can, I don't know where is the bear, but we can simply drag it over here. Let's also rename it. And we can drag it over here and create an original prefab because we probably have another one somewhere, but we want to create a new one. And now you can simply spawn these bears using this prefab, or you can just drag it inside your scene so they will appear at the beginning of the game. So now that we have these sounds and we have the animations, everything should work. So let's start the game. So now if we take our axe out, and we can see it's going to attack us, and if we attack it, we have this attack animation. But so for some reason, it stopped all the other animations, so we need to fix this. But if we keep hitting it, it should play the death animation. And now we can see this death animation, and we can also loot it. And we can see these pieces of meat. So the animations are working, but we need to figure out why they stopped when we attack him. So over here, it probably just ran this animation and then it stopped. So we can do something simple like creating transitions. If we do a transition to exit, then it will simply restart over. So it will not look good, because imagine he is inside the attack state and he's attacking us, and then we hurt it and it goes to exit. After it goes to exit, it will enter back into entry and it goes into the idle state. So it's going to look weird because from the attack state, he's going to get hit and then it's going to go back to the idle state and then walk state, chase state, attack state. So there will be a very weird looking transition. What we want to do is to go back to the attack state as soon as possible. But we cannot know that he will attack us when he's getting hurt, because maybe he is far away and we're using bow and arrow. So maybe he's in the walk state, right? So he should go to the walk state. So what we can do is simply create transitions to all of these states and even to the idle state, okay? And then simply say, if attack is true, go to the attack. If chase is true, go to the chase. If walk is true, go to the walk. But if walk is false, then go to the idle state. Or actually, let's delete this transition from the idle state and let's just create a transition to the exit, and then it will simply go exit and idle state. So over here we can have some kind of transition. If walking is false and chasing is false and attacking is false. Okay? And now let's see if it fixed the problem. We can also see this if we place the animator over here. It's a bit hard to see because there's no room. But it should go from the hurt state back to the attack state. Oh wait, And don't worry about these errors, we're going to fix them. So now we're going to attack it. And it's getting hit and then goes back to the attack state. You can see it over here. Select the bear. And it goes back to the attack state right away, and the animation is smooth. Okay, so now we can see that it works. Of course, we can add additional sounds. For example, when the bear is attacking us, so he will growl or something, and we can add many more sounds. And each sound that we add will add more and more to the immersion of the game and to the final polishing. But I'm not going to cover all of these sounds. It's very simple. You should already know how to do it by now. You simply add another sound over here into the animal script, and then you add the sound and you trigger the sound somewhere in the script. If you want to trigger the attack, then you can simply go to your attack state. Right, we can go to the bear attack state, and then inside over here when we attack we can say animator, and the reason we're referencing the animator is because this is the way to actually get, well, we cannot access it because it's not over here, so let's just take the agent, game object, get component, animal, and then we can play the sound. Okay, let's go back to the animal script. I'm just showing you, let's say we have another sound over here, something like animal attack. And then we can take this animal attack and we can create a method for this. For example, play hit sound. So play attack sound, and we're going to play this attack sound, and we can simply call this method. So we can make this public and we can call this method inside the attack state. Let's go back to the attack state, and inside play attack sound. Okay, so each time he attacks, he will also play this sound. Maybe I'm going to find some sound for this later, but we're going to continue with other things right now. Now, before we continue with the bear, I just want to show you why we get this error over here, this null reference. If we double click on it, it will bring us to the waypoints inside of the walk state. And at first glance, we can suspect that it has something to do with our bear and the waypoints. But if we take a close look, we can see that everything is set over here. We have the waypoint script and the cluster. And the reason we do get this is because in the previous episode, I showed you how to change our old rabbits to use the new system. So if we go to the animator for the rabbits, we can see that it uses the same different states. So it will also try to find the waypoints, but our rabbits, if we go to the rabbit, we did not place this waypoint system on the rabbits. So it will look for this system and it will not find it, and that's why we're getting this error. So to fix this, we simply need to add the waypoint system to the rabbit as well. So we're going to say waypoints, and then we need to add a cluster, but we still don't have a cluster. So we're going to, let's just unpack the bear for a second, unpack completely. Let's drag this waypoint cluster over here and create a prefab out of it. Then let's take our rabbit into the scene and let's add this system, this waypoint system into the rabbit. Let's make it a child. And now just make sure that it's positioned correctly. So you have all of these different spheres. Okay, you can also make them visible. Just make sure that they're actually on ground level and position them around the rabbit. Just make sure that everything is positioned correctly. Now we can remove the mesh render. And now we have this waypoint cluster on the rabbit, so we can drag this cluster to the script, and now the rabbit will walk to these waypoints and we're not going to get this error. Now we can save the prefab, the rabbit prefab, apply all, and we can remove it from the scene. Now if you want, you can simply, let's say, remove this bear, and create a new one. So now we should not get this error. Let's see. Yeah, so we are not getting any kind of error at this point. The next thing we want to do is create a health bar for the bear, because we can attack the bear, but we don't have any kind of indication when the bear is going to die and how many hit points he has left. So we don't need to create a new health bar. We actually have one from our tree. So we can simply open our player canvas and this chop holder, and we can make it visible. So you can see this health bar over here. All we're interested in is the actual health bar, so we're going to drag it into the scene and make a prefab out of it, drag it into the assets folder, and we're going to remove this from being a prefab. We just need a copy of it. Now we're going to disable this chop holder, and we're going to create, or actually drag it on the bear. So we're going to drag this resource health bar on the bear, and actually, we want to make it local. So we're going to create a UI, let's say canvas. We're going to rename it to bear UI. We're going to set it to be world space. This is important. And we also want to set the camera. So we place the player main camera over here. Now we're going to drag this resource to be a child of the bear UI. And we're going to make sure everything is zeroed, okay? And also the health bar should be zeroed, and now we can see it above the bear, but it's very big. So we're going to make sure, let's also unpack it. So we have the background, we have the fill area. We don't want to touch these inner things because they all already have their correct position. What we do want to play around with is the scale of the actual canvas. So we are going to make this much smaller, 0.1 or even 0.01. And we're going to position it above the bear. We also want to make sure that it faces us. So we're going to add this face camera script. And we use this, I think, when we created the bait and the fishing. So it's just a script that contains some very simple logic that will rotate the UI, the canvas, to face the camera, okay? So it will take this and it will rotate it to the camera. Now we also need a reference. We don't need a reference to the camera because it uses the main camera over here. Okay, it uses the main camera. So now we're going to change the color because green is for tree. We want to make it like red or something. Something like that. Of course, you can play around with this. We can add, let's say, some kind of text with the actual hit points or the percentage of damage, and you can place it over here. So create some kind of text, and then you can connect it to the actual slider and get the value, and it will change the value based on the slider. But we're not going to do this right now. We also don't need this resource health bar because we're not going to use it. But we do have this slider. So in order to change the value of the slider, we're going to open our animal script. We're going to create a reference to the slider. So public slider health bar slider, and make sure that you import the UI package. And now we can simply create the update method over here. Of course, you can do it a bit more efficient if you only update it when the bear is actually getting hit. But for now, we're going to do this in the update method. So health bar slider value. So we're changing the value to be the current health divided by the max health. Okay. So let's actually make it more efficient. Let's say private void update health bar. Let's take this into this method. and we're not going to use it in the update because it's just going to run it every frame, and even if we're not actually hitting the bear, so it's not efficient, we're going to call it when we need it. So update health bar, and we're going to set it in the start method once, but we also want to set it each time the bear is taking damage, okay? We also want to make this entire health bar visible only when we are close enough, so when we are in range. And to do this, we can simply, we have this player in range method, so over here inside the onTrigger enter, we can say if the player is in range, we can set this to be set active, but if the player is not in range, we're going to set it to be false. So it's only going to be visible when it's in range. And now all we need to do is attach this health bar slider over here, and that's it. And as I told you, if you want to have some kind of visual indication here, some kind of value, you simply create a text inside of this UI, and then you have a reference to this text over here, and you change it each time you update the health bar. So you can set something like slider text equals health bar slider value. Well, you don't actually want to do this because maybe it's going to give you some kind of decimal number, so you can format it so it will look better. You can even just take this, okay, and you set it to be the text. So the text will be updated. We don't want to do this. Now let's drag this slider to the animal script. We don't want to drag the entire canvas, just this resource health bar. We can also rename it. We don't want to call it, let's call it animal health bar or just health bar. And of course, you're going to add this to any animal that you create. So bear animal script, and we drag this health bar over here, okay? And of course, we want to disable it when we are not in range. So we're going to disable not the entire canvas, but just the health bar. Now let's see if it works. Oh yeah, now we're going to have a problem because our rabbits are also going to expect this, right? Because our rabbits also have this script right now, and they will try to update the health bar and they will not find a reference to this slider. So we need to do this for the rabbits as well, but because I don't want to spend time on it, you're going to create more and more animals, you're going to do this on your own time. I'm just going to say something very simple. I'm going to make some kind of fix over here. It's not a fix, it's just a workaround. If this animal type is rabbit, where if it's not rabbit, then do this so we don't get this error. Obviously, when you're going to add a slider to your rabbits, you're going to delete this because you want all the animals to have this. But this is just a workaround for testing until rabbits have slider attached. Now let's start, and we should not get this error. Okay, so now we're going to get close. Let's just take the axe out so we are not dead. And now when we're close enough, we should see this health bar. And you can see the health bar. We can also hit the bear. And now we have this weird thing that the entire health bar disappeared. I don't know why. Let's just click on the bear health bar. And it went to 0. And then it means that over here it's going to be 1. But after we get hit, this will be, for example, 95 divided by 100. So we're going to get, let's say, 0.95. So it should change the slider value. Okay, it should do it. I don't know what is the problem. Oh yeah, I'm such a noob. This should not be int. It should be float. Okay, float. And now that it's float, it's going to get set as a float, and it's going to perform as a float. We may get some errors because we changed it to float. Let's see. Okay, so now it works fine. You can see it goes down. Okay, now we got another problem. So these are a lot of things that are happening because we are still testing it. It's probably because the animation was hurt and then he died and he went somewhere else. So instead of this, we can simply make the transition and add this die as well. So if he's getting hurt and then dead, he will go right away to dead. So this may fix it, right? I'm not sure. I think that the best way is just to keep it inside the update method. So we're going to remove this. Okay, and this will happen in real time. So we're doing a lot of testing together. And now we're going to, and now you can see that it goes down. And now it works correctly. So again, you can play around with the style of the health bar. You can add numbers so you can actually see the number. You can create some kind of nice animation. So the slider will not just go down by chunks, but it will have this smooth transition. It will go nicely down. You should use some kind of lerp. Maybe I'm going to do a tutorial about this. So if you're interested, just let me know and I can create a tutorial about how to actually make the health bar go down smoothly. Anyway, we can see that it's working. There will always be some kind of weird things happening. Okay, you can play around with the different animations. Imagine that. I don't know if this actually fixed it, right? Maybe you're going to get this again. Maybe it's another problem. So you should know how to handle your animations. This tutorial is not focused on the animations, but we did cover a lot of animations during all of these episodes and this series. So you should have some kind of basic understanding of how animations work and the actual animator. So you should be able to troubleshoot it. If not, then you can ask me in the comment section. But at least at this point, things should work. And that's all for this episode. I really wanted to be shorter, but we had to do some troubleshooting and I could cut this out, but I think it's very good for you to see all of these troubleshooting steps. And this usually happens to me, but I'm not actually recording it. But I think it's very beneficial and educational if you see how we troubleshoot these issues, okay? So that's all for this episode. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe again. It will help me a lot. And in the next episode, we're finally going to move on. So now we're basically done with the bear, okay? You can unpack it and go to the prefabs and delete this one. Yes, and create a new one with the UI and all. And inside, and then you can simply put it anywhere you want. But in the next episode, or I think one after that, we're going to create a spawner. So instead of just setting the bear like this, we want to create some kind of spawn area for the bear. And it means that if we kill the bear, we may want it to respawn in another location or in the same location, because many games do this. We have some kind of spawn area for different animals, or maybe you don't want to use this spawn area, but we're going to see how to do it. And we also want to have the actual death of the player, because now the player can get hurt, but we still want to have sounds and we want to have some kind of hurt animation or hurt indication. And also what happens when the player is dead. He should respawn. It should be a game over. So we need to do all of these things and we're going to do them in the next few episodes. So I'll see you next time.